All right. So we have an image. This image is just regular photograph that I've placed. Can all of you see that in your files?
Week 5.
So yeah, it's week 5. Um, so that was the one that you opened. Okay, good. Yeah, that's the right one. So click on 3 and double click, and it should open it up. Just getting started. Okay. All right. Everybody has the one that I've got open. Are you having trouble with it? There's something that, oh, that is connected. All these wires. If you need to switch out and use a different one, well, that one doesn't even have one. I don't think all of their hubs work. You can try this one if you want.
Oh. Just gonna
All right, I'll wait a second because this is really a valuable thing. This is something where that you can take a raster image and turn it into vector. And you don't have to draw anything. You don't have to do anything. It's just a process that we're going to go through. And I'll get into more of what you can do with it, that will help you. Okay. So while I'm waiting, why don't I go ahead and take roll, because I don't want to get started until everybody's ready. All right. So, Ryan, Sarah, Daniel. No, Daniel? Okay. Charlie. Oops. Trevor. No, Trevor. Caroline. Okay. Matthew. Wow. Tessa. Lindsay. Hunter. And Bailey. All right. Oh, I may have skipped it. Emma, yes, you are here. If I ever skip your name, I mean, I can do that real easy because whenever you're old, your eyes get kind of funny and you don't always see what you're supposed to be seeing. Okay, have you got it, Bailey? That is so weird because it's been working all this time. I wonder if somebody else has shuffled all this stuff around and gave that computer a bad one. Well, I'm going to do this 2 or 3 times, so I'm going to go ahead and get all the rest of you started, and then Bailey, I'll help you get caught up after you get it going. So don't fret. Let's start with the box. Let's move it over to the artboard, and I'm going to get it closer so you can see what it is that we're doing. You can get as close as you like. You see, this is a pretty good photograph. It has a white background, so that's great, and it's got a lot of detail. All right, so I'm going to pull this down. So whenever I click on something that is a PNG or any of those Photoshop file extensions, you'll notice up on the control board, and if you don't have your control board on, that's the control right here on the top. Just go up to Window and Control and make sure that that's on, because a lot of tools show up there and it's really it's a lot easier to use. As a matter of fact, make sure that you have the advanced toolbar too. Okay. All right. So I've got my control bar. I have this image of a box selected, and you'll notice there's a thing that shows up on your bar named image trace. So if you'll just drag it over to your artboard. I just had it off to the side so it wouldn't be taking up space. So when you have it selected, notice that image trace comes up on your control panel. Oh, I'll catch you up. Don't worry.
I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. Okay, so go ahead and just drag that over. Okay, and since you've got that selected, image trace is there. Okay, we'll back up and do this 2 or 3 times, so don't worry that that came up. All right, and you've got image trace right there. Okay, perfect. Don't click on it right now. Just know that you've got it. I mean, you can click on it, but always go back to the original. Okay. So I'm going to show this 2 or 3 times. I don't want to lose anybody because this, out of all the tools, is probably the best one. Just saying. Okay, so I'm going to just do this and I'm going to explain what I'm doing, and then I'll do it again and again as many times as you want me to. Okay, so I've got image trace. I click on the down arrow and I've got a whole lot of choices there. I could make that the default, which is going to mainly be just black and white. It's not going to have any color in it. High fidelity photograph. That means it's going to have a gazillion colors. It's going to look like a photograph. You're not going to be able to tell much difference when you're looking at it from afar. So let's try that one first. So click on that down arrow, go to high fidelity photograph, click it, and it's going to take a minute. Okay, I think I'm done already. The way you can tell if you're done is when you get really close, you start seeing this pattern show up. These are vectors that have come together. They've taken those pixels that it had in the raster image, and it kind of averaged. Like if these right here are kind of within a certain average of the color, it'll make that into one vector, one path. So you can see it looks real splotchy up close, but if you look at it far away, it looks pretty clear. Okay, so I've got to that step. I picked live trace. Is it live trace? They keep changing the name on it. Anyway, it's image trace. And I chose high fidelity photograph. And so right now it's kind of in a state of limbo. It's not really raster, but it's not really vector either. So there's one more step you have to take, or it just won't work. So there is another thing that's popped up here called expand. So you need to click expand. And now you see how it changes. Now you can see all those paths, because before it was still acting like a raster. Okay, so just do an undo, a Control Z. I'm sorry, Command Z. So just do a Command Z a couple of times. There you go. Okay, now go up to image trace and pull down that arrow and choose high fidelity photos. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And once you've done that, click expand, and then it's going to have all those blue lines, or all those lines. You may have a different color. Yep, you got it. Have you gotten that far yet?
I'll figure it out. Just downloaded everything.
Look in your downloads and see if it's there. Okay, so click off of that and go back to Google, your Google Drive. Yeah. And choose, let's see, click here so you can go back. We'll go back here and just choose this one right here. You'll probably have to download it because it's not going to be able to open it there. Couldn't preview. Yep, there you go. All right. Right, so now you just, well, you need to go to where you downloaded it.
Yeah, I can get it.
Yeah. Okay, so you just Illustrator 3 and click on it. Okay, and then it should open up just a second. So select the box and drag it over, and then go up to Window and put the control bar on. Okay, and now choose Image Trace and pull. Well, okay,
Pretty good.
okay. Pull down that little down arrow and choose High Fidelity Photograph. High Fidelity. Okay, and when it finishes, click Expand. Okay, so there's So there's 3 steps to this. It's choosing the photograph, choosing the kind of trace you want to do, and then expanding. If you don't do expand, it's kind of like if you put all the ingredients in a bowl for a cake and you put it in the pan, but you didn't put it in the oven, it's not going to be a cake. So you've got to remember to do that last step or it's not going to be a vector. So let's take a little look at this now that we've got it all. See how crazy all of this is? I mean, look at these things. You can see that there are like points everywhere. There's curves and it's all really jumbly. But the good thing about this, well, it makes it a big file. Have you been able to get that downloaded yet?
Just having to do it off the web browser.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think my drive just died or something.
Well, I've got another one if you want to try another one. Okay, so it makes for a really big file because every point adds more information, which adds more size to the file. So you're going to end up with a really big file. But here's the instance. If somebody gives you, like it's a moving company, and they give you a picture of a box or you take a picture of their box and they want to put it on, let's say, just a little brochure, that picture is fine. But if they say, okay, I love that box so much that I want it on the side of my building that's like 40 foot long and I want it to be crystal clear. Well, you could do a photograph. It wouldn't be as clear probably as your customer wanted, but you could live trace it in Photoshop and you could make it as big as you wanted. It's not going to lose any of the resolution. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's why, even though it makes a big file, that this is important. All right, so now I'm going to do a couple of undos. Okay, so now I am back to where I started. The box is totally raster. It hasn't had anything done to it. It's still a Photoshop file. So I'm going to choose a different image trace. I'm going to go to, I think I'm going to do black and white logo. And see, that's what happens. Some of you were getting that one, that kind of result. Well, let me show you what you can do. You can get this result if you wanted something that was in black and white. You can go up here and you can find the image trace panel, or you can go to, let's see, is it an object? Let me look for a second. Like I said, I don't use these pull downs very much. It should be here. Oh, no. Well, we can find that later. If you've got your control panel on, it's going to show up in this control panel. And seriously, I work in the easiest way I possibly can. So click on that, the image trace panel, and this shows up. Now, it has a lot of information about what it's doing. And here is the part that you can actually change and make it look different. So let's say I want more. So I move that over and now it's giving me more. It's giving me a silhouette. It's giving me so much more. So if that's what you want, then that's a good place to put the slider. And the good thing about it is it does it in real time. You don't have to go ahead and hit it and make it, you don't have to say go and let it do all of its work and then show you, then you have to do an undo. It's showing you a preview so you can kind of get an idea of what you're going to get. So let's say we slide this over a little bit and maybe just a little bit more. Whoops, too much. losing some of the box. There we go. So somewhere in this area might be a really good place to have a black and white trace of that. So I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, so I'm just going to hit return and whoops. So I need to expand it. And now I've got raster. And this is totally editable. Let's say you come in here and you decide that you want a little more here. You can certainly draw on it, or you can actually even touch one of the anchors and you can bring this anchor out like this if you want to. So you can make all kinds of changes just like you drew it. It's just vector. I mean, it's just vector. You can change it all you want. Okay, so I want y'all to play around a little bit with this next one. I'm just gonna erase that. I'm going to put this over to the side since we'll be using that here in a second. So you can just select it and delete and get rid of all those little points because there are a gazillion. So now get the flower. Are any of you interested in flowers? This is a Hoya. It's a wax plant that doesn't bloom very often, but mine has started blooming the last few years, and I just think they're such beautiful little blooms. They're so symmetrical. But anyway, that's why we're doing this one. So before you trace it, if you decide, you know, that's really great, but I want to just focus on one flower or something like that. If you select it, select the image and go up to crop image, you can actually crop it. There was a day when this was not part of Illustrator. You had to do a lot of other acrobats in order to. I'm going to just focus in on this flower. Y'all can focus in on what you want, or you can just leave it as the whole big thing. Okay, so now I'm going to apply that. So now I've got a really small area. So we'll be able to see a lot more detail in this. Okay, so the same thing. I'm going to select it. I'm going to pull down image trace, and I'm going to pick low fidelity this time, just to pick a different one. So pick that, and here we go. Now you can see that this one doesn't have all of the different paths that the high fidelity did. So y'all just pick that, just get that flower and kind of play around with it some. Try different styles. Okay. I wanted to make sure before I checked it. Uh-huh. So first of all, go to Window and turn on your control by just clicking it. Okay, so now you've got a lot of information here that you'll be able to use. So you have it selected. Oh, you've already done one spot, haven't you?
I know it just now got.
Okay, well, go ahead and hit expand and see what happens. Yeah, you had probably clicked it. So now that's the finished product. If you want to do an undo, I'll show you from the start. Wow, it takes so long. Oops. Okay, so now I think it may be back to its original state.
Making sure it's so on.
Okay, so now you select it and go to image trace. Well, do an undo. Pull down that little arrow and then pick one. I picked high fidelity, but you can choose any of them you want to, and you can go back and forth and choose different different settings if you want. And then if you want to change that one, just click there. And this gives you all of the information that you need. You can slide or you can change this preset back to something else. Okay. This is just something you have to play with to really get a good handle on it. Is that traced?
It is.
You used the high fidelity, didn't you? Okay, perfect. Perfect. Now you can make that photo really big.
Like that. And then I hit command and it deleted, and I don't know how to get back.
Okay.
Because I was trying to go back. Oh,
Oops, I hit something else. Unclick that spotlight. Okay. So you could, it's Command Z. You probably put your elbow on it or something.
Yeah,
I
I
do
was-
that.
Good.
Okay. Very good.
Did we get to the where we could like adjust like how much we want?
Okay. Tracing result. No, that's not right. I'm sorry. It's right there next to tracing
Okay,
result.
got
And
it.
then you've got it.
Okay.
When you're ready, if you need me to kind of help you,
The
just let me know.
thing.
Mhm. Okay, there may be a couple of you that are still working on going back and forth with image trace. Well, let me show you something that you'll be able to use. I mean, today you can use it. I want you to use your phones. And if you haven't got this app, you need to download it while I'm showing you what it can do. It's called Capture, and it's a free app that Adobe has. And it might want you to log into your account. All you have to do is just use your e-rater and stuff like that. But it's called Capture. And I'll try to draw the way that it looks. It's just a regular box that's dark all the way around, and it has CA in it. And that's Capture. Well, actually, it's a lowercase. Okay, so that's the app I'm going to be using. So what can I do with the app? Okay, well, I'll tell you. You can draw something on paper. You can take a photograph of something that's interesting that you think is really graphic. So you can either create it in Capture, and we'll talk more about Capture when we do the color theory class. But I just wanted to bring it into this one because this is such a handy tool. I used my phone as a graphic artist more than I did my fancy camera that cost gazillions of dollars. So with Capture, it has several things you can do. You can get little snippets of audio. You can make graphics. You can make shapes. You can do color palettes, which is what we'll do in the color theory class. You can even, if there's a typeface that you're trying to match, let's say you really thought that was a cool typeface, you can take a photograph of it and it will help you match as close as it possibly can. If not the font, at least as close as it can. And you can make some really cool patterns. And if you're doing anything 3D, it also makes materials, and you can make brushes. And it's just on and on. It's kind of like a kitchen sink. It does everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Shapes, and I'm going to click Create, and it brings up my camera. This is the phone camera. And I can just go, I don't know if y'all can see that or not. I can just go and take let me back up just a little bit. And it has a slider here if I want to change it. I can just take a photograph of it. Okay, so now it has a photograph of it, and I can edit this and refine it and smooth it and all that kind of stuff. But I'm just going to save it. So now this goes to my library that's in Illustrator. Now you have to have a subscription in your name for that. If you're just using the tech one, it probably won't show up. It might, I'm not sure, but if you have a subscription, it definitely will. But if it doesn't show up, you can always just airdrop it to your phone. I mean, to your computer. But this way, if you think with pen and paper, you can make that turn into a vector. And this is not just a photograph. This is a vector. Let me see if it showed up yet. Because it really just made at this point, it's a SVG. I haven't really explained the different types of files. Did I do that? We save things in Illustrator as an AI. SVG is also vector. Anything else that you do is not going to be vector, but it saves it in Capture as a SVG, which means that you can, let's see, save, keep current selection. No, that's not what I want to do. Anyway, I don't want to take up too much time with showing you that, but I just wanted you to know that you can take a photograph of something and change it into a vector without having to draw it. And it's kind of similar to this image draw, because you could take a photograph. Let me just take one right here, a regular photograph. Okay. Let me see if I can get this one done fast. Photograph, and I'm going to send it to my computer. Okay, so I can open this photograph. I don't know if y'all are going to be able to see that or not. This is probably not screening in the, let me stop the share and share again so I can get all three of these. Okay, share. Okay, so I've got this photograph I just took of y'all. So I can save this, or actually it's already saved in my downloads, so I'm just gonna close it, close Photoshop. I'm going to bring it into this image trace thing. Just gonna place it in. You can drag or drop, you can place it, all kinds of different things. Let's see, downloads, here we go. Did it go in? I can't see. Whoops, whoops, whoops. It looks like I'm going to have to save it as something else, and let me do that really fast. I should have had this set up, but I wanted to do it kind of on the fly. Okay, open. Downloads. Here we go. Save as a PNG. Okay, so now I'm going to place this. Okay, so I have taken a photograph, I've placed it in Illustrator, and now I can image trace that. So there it is. That's how quick you can take something from the real world and put it into Illustrator and use it as a vector. Does that sound like a fun thing to do? It really is. Oh my goodness. When they first introduced this particular thing to the world at large, I was lucky enough to be at the Adobe Max that was there. And it was just really, really very interesting. And I really was glad I could see that because it was amazing. It was like, you mean you can take a photograph of a sign and make it vector? It was mind blowing. Okay, So now we are going to work on effects. And I'm just going to do some really simple things here. I'm just going to draw a nice little triangle. And you'll notice that I made it white on the inside. Now, so it disappears. But if I go up to effect, I can do all kinds of things. There's all kinds of different things I can do, but the first thing I'm going to show you is how you can style it. I'm going to add a drop shadow, and I can do all kinds of things to this. You can make it stronger, you can make it less. You can change the offset of it, which means you can change where it is actually on, where it's what it's shading. So let's just say okay. And now I've got a box that has a shadow. So let me put some color in this and take that shadow off. I have got really a mess here. I'm going to clean up my window for a second. I'm going to reset my essentials so that I've got fewer tools because there's just too many. Okay, so if I've got something that I have put an effect on, like this drop shadow, and all of a sudden I don't want it anymore. I need to take that shadow off. You aren't just stuck. You don't have to just redraw a shadow. You can go to properties. And properties is one of those that's found in window. You can go down the list and find properties. And if it's checked, it's open. So this shows everything about it. It shows the size. It shows the place on the art board that it's sitting, the XY coordinates, what the fill is, what the stroke, and on and on. And here we have drop shadow. So here I can change it. When I click drop shadow on my properties, it has that same box that I had when I was fooling with it to begin with. So if I want to take it off, I can just delete it. So I can make it 0, 0, or I can just delete it here. Well, it's not letting me delete it. I may not have everything showing because this is, here we go. Drop shadow, delete, cancel. So I can delete that effect. Okay, let's look at some more of the effects because there's a lot of things you can do. Let's go to the very bottom one because I like this one because it gives you a box that shows you what it's going to do. And you can preview it or you can turn off the preview, whatever you want to do. So first is an arc, and it has these sliders. There's sliders in everything we do that gives us different results. So you can change it where the bend is, if it's more horizontal, more on the top. You can change it so it's asymmetrical, all kinds of things. Okay. The thing I like about this particular set of warps is you don't have to close a window and get another one open. It's all in the same window. So we can change this same thing to different things. We can do, it's just like what it says, like a bulge. That looks like it's bulging. You could actually change it so that it's bulging the other way. You've got a horizontal bulge and you've got a vertical bulge. And you can do all kinds of different shapes. You can do a flag. Let me see. Have you seen a lot of text that does kind of on a flag like that? They use the warp to do that. So it's a really fun, easy way to make your effects, your images look different. It even has like fisheye and so on and so forth, and twist, which doesn't have very much effect here because we don't, there we go. Now we're twisting. So you can make all kinds of fun shapes that way. Some of them are accidental. You just have to play with those particular things. So that's under warp. I'm going to cancel it. Okay. The next one I want to show you is distort and transform. Now this one is one of those that you have to come back up and go back to the menu again. So free distort. Really what this one is really good for is like you can make something look like it's a perspective. So let's just say, okay. So now you've got something that looks like it's diminishing to the back of the image of the artboard. I'm going to undo that one. And then I'm not going to do all of these. This is something that you can play with yourself. Distort, right. So you can do some really strange things in here, like tweak. You can modify it with these sliders. And you can change the relative to absolute. You can go back and forth. You can do all kinds of things. I'm going to undo that. One last one. Oops, wrong place. This one is really, oops, I missed it. This one can really be crazy. You can make it really go nuts. So you can make some really strange shapes that you could draw that with the pen tool, but this is so much easier. So I'm just going to take that cancel zigzag, and I'm going to delete it. Okay, so that's pretty much all of the effects. So clipping, it looks like all of my images have disappeared in this file. So what I want you to do, y'all downloaded the file that had all the photographs in it, right? Okay, so we're going to place something in here. Let's see. If you go to File, it is Command, Shift, and P for placing something. Really a crazy desktop. I think that that's probably the hardest thing they could possibly do, because a lot of, like in InDesign, you just do Command D for placing. So it's a little bit awkward. Okay. So Illustrator 4, let me see what I want to put in here. There's the box. Let's use the tiger skin. So let's just place it here. If you want to make something bigger in Illustrator, you push Shift and pull one of the corners and hold your click. Okay, so now we've got an image there. And I wanted to show you the difference between a clipping and a compound path. And just to make it a little more interesting, we're going to use text to do this. Have you ever seen text that's got some kind of texture on the inside of it, like a photograph that you can see, but it makes the shapes of the words? That's what we're going to do. So I want you to take your type tool and draw a text box and type your name. And I would do it in all caps because it'll just be easier in all caps. And then come over here to window, and let's get our text box open so we don't have to keep going back and forth. So here's my character. So that was under window, and all the way at the bottom practically type. And I chose character, the one that's at the very top. Okay, everybody got that? All right. So I am going to make, first of all, I'm going to make this really a lot bigger so I can see it. And I think I want it even bigger than that. So I'm going to make it 200 points big. So now it's really kind of big. And I don't really want to use this little skinny type. So I'm going to pick one that is pretty big. So let's see. It doesn't matter what font you choose. Just make sure it's a really big, thick font. So you can choose whatever kind you want. So is everybody to that point? If you get stuff like that, that means that that particular set of that font doesn't have those letters. So you'll just need to find a different one that has your name in it. There you go. So, and be sure you pick like the bold one on that if you can, because you can just see more of the photograph when we get through. Okay, and make it pretty good size. Okay, everybody got their name? All right. So what we want to do now is we want to outline our text. Do y'all remember how to do that? Outline fonts? Anybody remember how to do that? I'll show you. I know I'm throwing an awful lot of things to remember. I've got to, I've been doing this for so many years that it's kind of second nature for me. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click my my selection tool. Okay, so I've got it selected, but I don't have it highlighted. So you've got to have your selection tool and highlight it, but it's not, it's selected, but not highlighted. Let me move this out of the way. Okay, so you go up to your type menu pull down, and it's about halfway down, create outlines. So type, then create outlines. And then you click that, and it makes it so that it's actually a vector now. So this is not editable text like it was just a minute ago. This has anchors and points, and each one is an individual image. Right now they're grouped because whenever you do that, it just automatically groups them. Yes. Okay, you need to have your selection tool and click somewhere so that then have it selected. Okay, and then go up to type, pull down to create outlines, and there it goes. All righty, I know it's kind of a bunch of different steps. But is everybody getting it? You've got it. Okay, so you need to go to your selection tool at the top, then click somewhere and make sure that you've just got it selected, but not highlighted. Then you go to type, pull down to create outlines, and there you've got it. All right, you got it. I like that picture. Okay, so you've got the selection tool. Try the direct selection tool and see all that shows up. That's the difference between those two tools. It's kind of a tongue twister for me to say it, so sometimes I say the wrong thing, but the one that's to the right is the one that shows all the anchor points and stuff. Okay. So everybody's at this point, right? Okay, because I don't mind going over it again. So I just to let you know, sometimes I do show you guys the wrong way just so that you can see a pitfall so I can emphasize more. So anyway, I'm just going to put it over on top, and your name has to be on the top. So let's select it all. Select the background and your name and go to Object and go to Clipping Mask, which is practically at the bottom. And there is a key command for that. It's Command 7. And I use that all the time, but you need to know where both of them are. You need to know the command and where it is. So I'm going to say Make on the clipping mask. Okay, and that didn't work, did it? And let me tell you why. It's because, remember I was telling you that each of these letters is a separate object. Right now they're grouped. So if I ungroup them, every single one is a separate object. So what we need to do in order to make this work is to make them as one object. Now we could go look at the Pathfinder and see if that will do it, but a quicker way is to just select the entire name, go to Object, and then go one past the clipping path and make a compound path. So let me go ahead and do that. So I've made this a compound path, which means instead of being a separate item with this, it makes it so that it's all together. It's just one big graphic. I don't know if that makes sense or not. I'm trying to explain it because it's kind of a hard concept. So now I'm going to move my name back up here. I'm going to do the clipping mask again, and I'm going to just do it here on the menu, make. And now it works because it was confused. We confused the computer as to which one needed to have the pattern behind it. It had too many objects, and it won't work if you have too many objects. I had 6 objects with my name. So whenever I changed it to a compound path and basically just told the computer, this is all one path. There's not 6 different objects, it's one object. And that's when it will work.
Show how to make it a compound path.
Sure. I'm just going to undo this. I think I'm past that point. Yeah. Okay, so I've got it so that, let me get closer. Maybe not that close. Okay, so these are just individual objects. So I select all of the objects, but I don't group them. I don't want to group them. I want to just have them selected. I go up to Object, which is the menu pull down, and it's practically at the bottom. So we've got compound path, and it's right underneath the clipping mask that we're going to use here in a minute. So, with me so far? Okay. And well, whenever, let me see if I can go back. Yeah, whenever I first did the outline, I'll just go that far. See if I can, yeah, here. I've got editable text here. This is something I could go in and I could change a letter. So, as a matter of fact, let me just change a letter. Oh, well, it doesn't have a lowercase. I would pick a font that doesn't have a lowercase. Anyway, you can change it, you can edit that. So I have made this into an outline. And now I see that I have all of these different things that are they're objects, but I can select them one at a time. Now they're grouped, and I can ungroup it by going up to the object and ungrouping. So now I really honestly have only 6 items. They're not grouped or anything. So to make them a compound path, I select them all.
Still groups them even if it's not, like if it's outlined and everything.
Okay, well, you've got them outlined.
Yeah.
Okay, can I drive for a second and see what we've got here? Okay, so, oh, you've got that one chosen. I want to pick this one.
Okay.
So it might have been that you had the wrong tool chosen, because these are all separate. Yeah, and Bailey is all separate. So if you select them, and now try to make them into a compound path, because they are individuals. Okay, now try to move them with this. Yeah, see, now they're all stuck back together. So that's what it should be. All right. So did I do a compound path on this, or have I gotten that far? I've lost my track. Let me just do it again. Okay, so I've outlined it. I have ungrouped it. Now I am going to Object and going to Compound Path, and I make a compound path. And now it's all one item again. I select the background and my name, and then I go to clipping path and make, yep, yeah. What part doesn't make sense? You got it? All right. Oops, I was trying to not make you move.
Saying it can't make. There's more than one object.
Okay. So click off of that and pull your name down so I can look. Okay, did you go to the object compound path?
Yes.
Okay, why don't you do it one more time and see what it says? Yeah, go ahead and say make, and now try. Maybe there was one letter that got left out or something. You've got to have the background and your name chosen.
Okay.
So yeah, select all of that. There you go. Yeah, you've just got to hold your mouth right. Okay, you're going to need to put your tiger skin on the back side of it. That your
No, I
name needs to
understand
be
what
on the front. There you go.
Yeah, but I.
Okay, so now choose both of them. You've got to choose the background and the name. Do you have them both chosen? And go to object down to clipping path. And make.
There.
Uh-huh.
Ours is like the same thing where it's like we'll select everything.
All right, let me drive for a second.
It just turns like clear, I guess.
Oops. Okay, so this is all together.
Mhm.
Did you come down to, ah, I hate these mice. Oh, what is that? Cancel. Down to compound path, make. That's okay. Then you. Wow, these mice. Okay, let's just try it like this.
Yeah.
And then back to object, clipping mask.
Oh, okay.
So I bet you didn't hit the make button
Yeah.
because you can go to a compound path, but if you don't hit make, it doesn't do anything. Okay. Okay. So what step are you at now?
I just click on like type and then create ones.
Okay, you just made it outlines. Okay, then go up to object and go down to compound path and then over to make. All right, and that's fine. It doesn't matter. So you can drag one or the other so they're over each other, and then select both the background pattern and your name, and then go back up to object, go down to clipping path, make,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you.
and you got it. You're doing great. So has everybody been able to make their name have a pattern on it? Very good. Okay. Let's see. What is the next one? Saving and exporting. Okay, we can go over this really quickly. Let's just take our name over here, if I can get it to do it, so that you can, because you'll probably want to save this. Maybe, I don't know. So whenever you're saving any of these things, because we really haven't saved anything in this class yet, save is always in the file here, but of course save is Command S. Save as, which is something I use a lot, is a shift Command S. And so we can save this whole, it's going to save the whole thing. You can hit just save, and it's going to save it with the same name and all of that in the same place. But if you want to move it somewhere else, let's say it's in your downloads and you want it on your desktop. So you can do Shift Command S, and it gives you some choices. So I'm going to put it on my desktop. So now I've got this little view, and you might have a view that looks like this. If you'll click that little up and down button right next to the name of the file, it'll open it up so you can see more of where you're at. So I am going to save this on my desktop. So now if I click desktop or I maneuver myself to my desktop, then I can save it right there. So I'm going to save it with another name. I'm going to just put my name there. And then I save it. And then this thing asks you all kinds of things. I just leave them as they are unless I want a transparency where there's not. So I'm just going to say, no, I'm just going to leave it. Okay. So, okay. And now I've got, if I can show you real quick, my top here, because I think I've just lost my screen. I've got something named, well, here it is. Illustrator 3 Janice. And I've got the other copy. That way, if you are working on something and you want to do a big change, if you save as, you can change the name and you can change the location. If you don't, if you just do a save, it's going to save that file you've already got. And let's say that you're not sure that you want to save over, because if you've got a file that y'all are sharing with somebody else, if you save over it, then the original file is lost. Okay, lots of explaining. So let's get back to Illustrator, if I can find that tiny little thing. Okay, so now I'm back to Illustrator. Another way to get something out of your file into other people's stuff, whenever you save, let's just look at what you can save it as. Okay, so I'm just saving here. I'm saving as. So I can make it an AI file, which is the native file format of Illustrator. If you're sending something to a professional printer or a screen printer for t-shirts or something like that, they can accept AI. But do know that they will be able to edit that. They'll be able to adjust it, especially if you haven't outlined your text. You might be getting into problems. The other choices is an EPS, and I think we've talked about those. Don't use them very much anymore. If you're going to do something repetitively a lot, like business cards or something, you can make a template. So you open the template and it gives you a new copy. So you've got that template to go back to. And it's got PDFs and it's got SVGs, all of that kind of stuff. Cancel. Okay, if you want to do something besides that, you would want to export. So File, Export. And you've got a lot of different choices. I basically just do the standard export as, because there's a lot of different things connected to the screens and the web, and really this one does it all anyway. So exporting, which is different than saving, because it's actually taking your file and changing it into a different format. That's what the exporting means. You're not saving it as something that you were working in the native file or something. So you have all kinds of choices, some of which you might not really be able to use with what you're doing. But like, for instance, you can change it from you can make it a PNG from an AI here. You can make it a JPEG. You can also make it a PDF here. You can even change it into a Photoshop. A PSD is their native file format. You can change it into a whole bunch of different things. And the funny thing is, these two right here are Autodesk. That means that something that is like AutoCAD can open these files. So seriously, you'd think that that's not a big deal. But whenever I was working as a graphic artist, I would get files from architects or, people who were doing floor plans. Working in housing, of course, I came across floor plans a lot, but they would give me their AutoCAD files. And had I not known about this, I wouldn't have been able to open their files and do stuff to it and then save it in a way that they could look at it. So it's good to know what all these functions are. Okay, so that's all of that. Cancel. So now what I want you to do, kind of a little exercise, I want you to make a poster. And you might need to go to layers and unlock that bottom poster. I don't know if we need to or not. Yep, there is some stuff there that you might want to get. So you might want to, change that date. That's 24. You need to probably put 25 because you don't want to do something in the past tense. So just take this text, and it's all editable. You can change it any way you want. So I want you to use this text and these images and make a poster. And you can do whatever you want. There are no wrong answers. You can use this to make it more interesting. You can use any of the effects that we looked at. We can clip paths, we can image trace, whatever you want to do. The things that we learned today, you can use it to make this poster. You can even add things. You can go find something that you would rather use than what I've given you. And make it the size of that artboard there.